Yo, quick one today. So I was just thinking about this and I've kind of been going round and round in circles in my head, kind of just feeling a little bit frustrated with the world and how we view people who don't fit the mold of like that like super extroverted, dominant conversationalist, almost like the salesman archetype. I was reading this book on introverts. It's called Quiet. And it's a book for introverts to kind of understand themselves a little bit better. And also how like a lot of this just comes down to like introverts and extroverts just comes down to like social norms that have developed over time. Like pretty much the idea of an extrovert just didn't exist. An introvert and an extrovert, they just didn't exist until basically people started moving into like the inner city areas in like the 1800s or whatever and started working for large corporations versus like working on the farm. And then suddenly that's where this idea came from, that everyone needs to learn how to become a salesman. Even if you're not selling a product, you need to sell yourself to the employer. You need to come across as loud and an amazing presenter and communicator. And if you didn't fit that mold, you were maybe not left behind, but you were probably treated as like kind of a second-class citizen. And you're very much encouraged to step outside of yourself and become that like ideal, more extroverted communicator. But yeah, from this, and just the thing that really is kind of pissing me off is how this has shaped this whole idea nowadays that confidence is one thing and one thing only. And it's less about like the confidence itself, it's more about like what it's not. Confidence is now seen as the absence of anxiety. It's not even really about how you look to other people, it's about how you feel, how you're supposed to feel in certain situations. Man, this is an example from a while ago, but I remember when I first started going to parties with my friends at high school, loads of girls there, and I went to an all-boys school, so I wasn't really meeting many girls like that, never that successful with girls growing up. And I'd always picture in my head exactly how I wanted these parties to go. I'm going to walk in there, somehow I'm going to go over to a group of girls by myself. I'm going to act smooth, macho, confident, and just go and charm these girls. What am I going to say? I don't know. I'm just going to go over there and be that guy. And that's kind of as far as it went. It never really like came to fruition. It was always just a fantasy, because whenever I go in that party, complete opposite. I remember a few times, like me and my friends, we were the first to arrive to these parties, and it was like you could have drawn a line in the middle of the room between us, the guy group, and all the girls. We just weren't talking to them until we've had like minimum like 2 alcoholic beverages. But what really got to me back then was just this idea that there's something wrong with me for feeling scared. For going into that situation and not feeling so calm and composed that I can easily approach a big group of girls. As a guy who at the time had never really interacted with women on anything but a platonic level, had never really flirted, had never received that type of attention from girls, yet I had this kind of belief that, that's how I should have been doing. That's how I should have been. We've created this ideal as a society that it's unacceptable to feel scared in situations that should quite rightly require a lot of bravery, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Man, I've known people at university, and by that point, I think my communication skills had improved a lot and I had a good amount of self-belief. But on my university course, they just forced us to do these, like, it was probably like a combined total of 20 minutes of presenting just to the class. It's like this assessment that counted for about 20% of our grade. And bro, even I was just shitting bricks doing that. Like, it went well because I just prepared to an autistic level. But some of the people in my class were just having like panic attacks going up. Like 2 or 3 of them, I was only in a small class, like 16 people. 2 or 3 of them just like had panic attacks or had to like step outside the room. And it's like we've created this norm that it's not okay to feel scared going up and doing something like that. This daring thing, speaking in front of a room full of people. We're made to feel like there's something wrong with us, that we're not confident, that we can't ever be confident, just for putting ourselves out there in that situation and experiencing nerves and anxiety like anyone who is like relatively out of practice would. Is the solution to get more practice? Maybe. But then I kind of feel like I'm just feeding into this whole frame of like, there's something wrong with me for feeling scared in that situation. And that's the difference between me back then and me now. It's like, I have like this level of comfort and acceptance with the fact that, yeah, in most situations, in social situations, talking to girls, I am going to be a bit scared. I'm not always going to, well, generally 100% of the time, I don't really want to do it. Just came back from this holiday and met a couple of guys there, and we were doing loads of approaches in the club. And never once did I actually like want to go and do it. Just kind of force myself. Like that's what I try and remember. Like the mantra that I have right now. Do it scared. And that's fine. Do it scared. And honestly, don't even try to hide the fact that you're scared, because what you resist persists. You feel more nerves and anxiety and tension trying to put on this facade of like being really calm in a situation where you're not. Generally what I find is in those situations, now that I know I can kind of do it, always scared going in. But once I kind of find a little bit of rhythm, and I don't try and like portray myself in a certain way, things just kind of click into place. Calm down a bit. And that all comes from doing it scared. So, man, in a world where everyone is just so desperate to appear confident and infallible, where it feels like unacceptable to show any sign of hesitancy or self-doubt, fuck all that, man. Like, just do it scared. Make those mistakes. Like, I've fumbled in front of other people before. It's kind of embarrassing, but just do it scared. That's all I've really got to say. See you soon.